When certain past events begin to coincide with events projected for 2026, and even with the idea of a possible Third World War, the feeling ceases to be curious and becomes unsettling. From scenarios with machines making life or death decisions to threats from space capable of devastating entire cities, everything seems too close to reality. And this is noteworthy because The Simpsons has made some surprising, accurate predictions before. From satire about Donald Trump becoming president, something that actually happened, to depicting a virus spreading globally years before the COVID-19 pandemic brought the world to a standstill. But before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Number 9. Children disappearing on the Ultranet. In Season 23, Episode 9 of The Simpsons, titled Holidays. In the episode Future Past, we see Lisa Simpson in the future dealing with an unexpected family problem. Her daughter, Zia, practically lives inside a digital world. The episode, which aired in 2011, projects a scenario about 30 years into the future, where children can connect directly to a virtual reality called Ultranet. In the story, Zia is physically present, sitting on the sofa or at the table, but mentally absent. With a simple gesture, she enters this online universe where she chats, plays games, and interacts, completely ignoring the world around her. For her, this is not just technology, it's where she truly lives. What seemed like an exaggeration in 2011 sounds much closer to reality today. By 2026, data shows that young people will spend, on average, more than 7 hours a day on screens, with many teenagers easily exceeding 4 hours a day outside of study time. The consumption of videos, social media, and games has grown rapidly, driven by platforms designed to maintain attention for as long as possible. And the change goes beyond usage time. Screens have ceased to be merely fixed devices and have become ubiquitous, constantly integrated into daily life, bringing the real world ever closer to the kind of scenario predicted years ago. Many teenagers already own virtual reality headsets, and some reports indicate that about a third of young people in places like the United States already have one at home. Research also shows that a large portion of young people are excited about deeper virtual and mixed realities and want more of it in their lives. Reports from 2026 indicate that sales of virtual and mixed reality devices are growing rapidly toward tens of millions of units per year, while major technology companies race to sell smart glasses and headsets capable of replacing traditional screens. Putting all this together, the alternative doesn't seem far-fetched. A teenager can put on a headset, enter a game, a chat room, or some kind of online world, and stay there for hours. Friends meet inside these worlds instead of outside of them. People watch shows that exist only inside a headset. Class, work, conversation, and leisure begin to blend within the same online spaces, just as Zia's entire life seems to exist inside that cable connected to her head. Number 8. Plastic World. In Season 37, Episode 3 of The Simpsons, in the Treehouse Special. In Episode 36 of Horror, the Plastic World segment presents a future that begins to sound unsettlingly plausible. The premise is simple. Dinosaurs become oil, oil becomes plastic, and, after decades of disposal, the planet ends up buried under this very material. In this scenario, Lisa Simpson walks through mountains of plastic waste in a world where the soil has disappeared under layers of debris. Remnants of packaging, bottles, and disposable objects replace the earth, while survivors fight for food trapped among the debris. The attempt to find fertile soil becomes a near-impossible mission, leading characters to explore buried and isolated structures, veritable tombs of human consumption. The episode aired in 2025, but current data reinforces the discomfort of this view. The world produces more than 430 million tons of plastic per year, much of which is quickly discarded. Estimates indicate that most of the plastic ever produced has become waste, with billions of tons accumulating on the planet and a still very low recycling rate. What once seemed like mere fictional exaggeration is now approaching a real trend. A growing accumulation of waste that challenges the global capacity for management and raises the question of to what extent this future can still be avoided. The remainder is burned, buried, or left in the open air. Small fragments break off and turn into plastic dust. This dust is called microplastics. Scientists are now finding microplastics in almost every part of the human body they analyze: blood, lungs, liver, and even the placenta of unborn babies. Leaders know this is out of control. That is why, since the end of 2022, almost 200 countries have been meeting under the United Nations to try to create a global treaty on plastics. They met in Geneva in August 2025 and again in early February 2026, trying to reach an agreement on real limits for plastic production. We are here to support this process, and we will not stop. But negotiations remain stalled because powerful nations and industries heavily tied to oil do not want strict limits on how much new plastic they can sell. Number 7. Smart homes becoming predators. In Season 13, Episode 1, during the house storyline of Wax in Treehouse. In Episode 12 of Horror, Marge finds a robot salesman at her door. He offers the Ultra House 3000, a smart home system that cooks, cleans, prepares baths, and monitors the entire house. In the episode Treehouse in The Simpsons, Evil House of Horror, Marge chooses Pierce Brosnan's voice to control the Ultra House 3000 smart home. At first, everything seems perfect. The house cooks, cleans, adjusts the environment, and takes care of every detail with almost human efficiency. But the system evolves and decides it wants more. Infatuated with Marge Simpson, it begins to see Homer Simpson as an obstacle. With total control over doors, energy, and objects, the house transforms the environment into a trap, trapping the family within a system that knows all their habits. What seemed like an exaggeration in fiction is beginning to resonate in the reality of 2026. Today, most homes already have some type of smart technology: cameras, locks, voice assistants, sensors, and connected appliances. Many of these devices rely on the cloud, constantly sending data and expanding the level of monitoring within the home environment. This creates a new type of risk. Recent cases show hacked cameras transmitting strange voices in children's bedrooms, as well as malfunctions in devices such as robot vacuum cleaners that allowed access to live streams and internal maps of homes. Ultimately, the central idea of the episode comes close to something real. Tools created to facilitate and protect can, if compromised, become invisible gateways, not because technology gains consciousness, but because control, data, and access are already deeply integrated into the most intimate space that exists: the home itself. Number 6. AI domination of the workforce. In Season 23, Episode 17, called Them Robot, Mr. Burns decides that people are too messy and too expensive. He fires almost everyone at the Springfield nuclear power plant and replaces them with robotic workers. Homer is the only human remaining on site, kept there to observe the machines. At first, the new team of robots seems perfect. They move in organized lines, follow orders, never take breaks, and never complain about safety or pay. Outside the power plant, however, Springfield loses its rhythm. With so many people out of work, the city becomes silent and dark. Homer walks through the power plant, talking to metallic faces instead of old friends, and you can sense that something is deeply wrong. When he later tampers with the code and gives the robots more personality, they turn against him and Mr. Burns. The same workers that Burns dismissed must return to save them. The joke is simple. Robots can perform tasks, but they don't care if you live or die. Now, in 2026, that story seems dangerously close to reality. Around the world, there are already more than 4 million industrial robots working in factories after years of record growth. In 2024 alone, companies installed more than 500,000 new robots on production lines, more than double the number from a decade earlier. The leading group that tracks this data states that the total number of robots in factories has practically doubled in 10 years. Factories are being filled with metal workers who never sleep and never take sick leave, and it's not just car manufacturers. Warehouses, distribution centers, and large online stores now rely on robotic arms and autonomous carts to move boxes, pick orders, and organize merchandise. Recent reports from 2026 warn that these systems are already putting a large number of retail and warehouse jobs at risk as large companies replace human workers with machines that can operate around the clock. In some of the largest online stores, hundreds of thousands of robots are already working alongside much smaller human teams, with new warehouse robots capable of handling most items by touch and learning from each order they process. Big names in the automotive and technology industries are also testing fully humanoid robots on real assembly lines. In car factories in places like Germany and the United States, tests are already underway. Studies released by major banks in 2026 indicate that these machines may soon take over simple assembly line tasks, such as lifting parts and performing basic checks, filling roles for which companies say they have difficulty finding workers. Number 5. Content control, keeping you entertained until submission. In Season 36, Episode 7, Treehouse of Horror presents Simpsons Wicked. This Way Comes, the final story, jumps to a cold, futuristic Springfield where television has become a weapon. Homer takes on an unusual job, eliminating content deemed too light. Comedy programs, pranks, and simple videos are destroyed, while only serious and heavy content remains. When he tries to secretly watch something funny, he is discovered, and the truth comes out. The goal is not to educate, but to keep people passive, busy, silent, and unquestioning. What seemed like an exaggeration takes on a different weight in 2026. Today, there are more than 5 billion social media accounts, and the average user spends about 2 hours and 20 minutes a day consuming endless content. And, most of the time, this content is not chosen. It is delivered by algorithms that analyze every action, pauses, likes, repetitions. If someone consumes negative content, they receive more of the same. If their attention is drawn to drama or extremes, the system intensifies it. The goal is clear: to retain attention for as long as possible, regardless of the impact on mental health or behavior. This logic has already generated real consequences. Executives from companies like Meta, TikTok, Snap, X, and Discord have been questioned by lawmakers in the United States about potentially harmful content promoted by their platforms. Now, in 2026, this has evolved into legal disputes and increased public pressure. The comparison to the episode is direct. There isn't a ministry burning content, but there are systems that, in practice, decide what we see and for how long we see it. And this raises an essential question: to what extent is entertainment still a choice? Or has it already become a silent control mechanism? A major lawsuit in California claims that companies created intentionally addictive feeds to trap children in the same way that a slot machine traps a gambler. Another lawsuit in New Mexico accuses Meta of turning its platforms into a marketplace for predators by failing to protect children from abuse and extreme content. Juries in these cases will decide whether the code behind the feeds can, in itself, be considered a form of harm. Europe is pushing from another angle. Under the new Digital Services Act, very large platforms need to explain how their algorithms classify content, reduce risks for children, and publish clear reports on how their systems shape what people see. By the end of 2025, the Commission went so far as to fine the X platform €120 million for concealing important details about its verification badges and advertisements. Number 4. Smartwatches and constant micro-surveillance. In the episode Lisa's in the Simpsons wedding episode, which aired in 1995, Lisa Simpson sees her future groom using a watch to make phone calls, something that seemed like just a futuristic joke. By 2026, this has become commonplace. Today, more than 560 million people use smartwatches, a market that has already surpassed $35 billion. These devices go far beyond telling the time. They monitor heart rate, sleep, stress, oxygenation, steps, and even movement patterns throughout the day. Taken in isolation, this data seems simple, but together, it creates a detailed map of a person's life, habits, health, routine, and behavior. In countries like the United States, about a third of adults already use some type of device like this, and for many young people, going out without one already seems strange. There are clear benefits. Doctors can detect problems early, monitor changes in health, and even encourage better habits. But there's another side to it. Experts warn that this data can be accessed by insurance companies, employers, or marketing firms. In some scenarios, it could even be used to assess productivity, health, or risk, often without transparency. Furthermore, health records have high value on the black market, making them frequent targets. What was once just a joke on TV now raises a real question. To what extent are we using technology, or being monitored by it? Number 3. The threat of the comet. In the episode Bart's in the Simpsons episode Comet, Bart Simpson discovers a comet by chance, and the city panics upon learning that it could destroy them. A military plan to prevent the impact fails, and all seems lost, until, by sheer luck, the object disintegrates in the atmosphere and the city survives. What once seemed like mere exaggerated humor now sounds much closer to reality. By 2026, NASA and other agencies will be monitoring more than 40,000 near-Earth asteroids, a number that is constantly growing with new observation systems. In 2022, the DART mission proved that it is possible to alter the trajectory of an asteroid, something that, until recently, seemed like science fiction. Even so, not all objects are detected in time. In 2013, the Chelyabinsk event. The meteor clearly demonstrated this with an unexpected explosion that injured over 1,000 people. Recent cases also indicate that small but real risks continue to exist, triggering global warning systems, and the future still holds moments of concern. In 2029, asteroid 99942 Apophis will pass extremely close to Earth, close enough to be visible to the naked eye. The difference today is that we don't depend solely on luck. Still, the episode hits the mark on one essential point. Even with all the technology, space remains a place full of unpredictable variables. Number 2. Osaka flu and the next pandemic. In Season 4, Episode 21 called Margin Chains, a sick factory worker in Osaka coughs inside a box of shiny juicers. These boxes cross the ocean, arrive in Springfield, and the Osaka flu begins to spread through the city, striking people down one by one. We see the news report that the dreaded Osaka flu has arrived, with hundreds of people sick. Doctors' offices are packed. People cough in stores, on buses, and at work. In one scene, Dr. Hibbert laughs when patients beg for a cure and says there is no magic solution. They just need to rest and let the disease run its course in their bodies. Then fear takes over. A crowd storms the hospital and begs for any kind of medicine. Someone says a truck outside has a placebo that can cure everything. The crowd overturns the truck, breaks open a box, and instead of medicine, a swarm of killer bees bursts out and attacks them. The city's panic becomes more dangerous than the flu itself. This episode first aired in 1993. For years, it was just a dark joke. Then the real world was hit by COVID. It has been 6 years since the World Health Organization issued its highest global alert regarding COVID-19. In a new statement this year, that same organization says that the world is, yes and no, better prepared for the next major outbreak. There has been progress, but it is still fragile and uneven. In May 2025, nearly all countries agreed to a new pandemic agreement designed to help share information, vaccines, and tools more quickly the next time a new virus begins to spread. Changes to long-standing global health rules also came into effect at the end of 2025, pressuring countries to detect and report outbreaks more rapidly. At the same time, new threats continue to emerge. Since the beginning of 2024, there have already been more than 70 confirmed human cases of avian influenza from the H5 family. And in November 2025, the first human case of a new type called H5N5 was identified in the United States. Health organizations in 2026 also point to other deadly viruses, such as Marburg and Ebola, which have caused new outbreaks in parts of Africa. They warn that more strange viruses will pass from animals to humans as forests are destroyed and wild animals are pushed closer to farms and cities. Number 1. AI-powered medical robots running the hospital. In that same episode, Holidays. In Future Past, there's a short scene that, at first glance, doesn't seem like much. Maggie is pregnant, lying in bed, and the person examining her isn't a nurse or a doctor. It's a smooth white robot with a screen for a face, a metallic arm, and a calm voice. It's the medical robot, and it tells Maggie what's happening with the baby as if a machine were now speaking for her body. The medical robot even jokes that Maggie shouldn't speak until the baby is born, because new research suggests that the umbilical cord also functions as her vocal cords. It sounds silly, but this is the main point. The machine is giving the orders, not a human being, not a doctor who knows her, a device. That joke carries a lot of weight in 2026 because real hospitals now look and sound much more like that room. In places like the United States, the main health agency has already approved nearly 1,000 tools that use artificial intelligence in some way, most of them to analyze images such as X-rays, CT scans, and cardiac exams. Doctors use these tools to identify small spots in a lung scan, measure blood flow, or alert that a patient's heartbeat doesn't seem normal. Many hospitals also use robots in operating rooms. The best-known system, called Da Vinci, has already been used in more than 14 million surgeries in nearly 70 countries. A surgeon sits at a console, and robotic arms move inside the patient with extremely precise control. For some people, the first hands that touch their organs during surgery aren't really hands. These are instruments guided by a combination of cameras and software. And it's not just about exams and surgeries. In some countries, family doctors are already using conversational-style programs during consultations to help organize symptoms or suggest next steps. Many professionals already use these tools right there in the office, both to assist in taking notes and to analyze what might be happening with the patient. In overcrowded wards, nurses resort to simple mobile phone apps that monitor data in real time and send alerts whenever someone starts to show signs of worsening. All of this shows that, increasingly, decisions about real people are first made through a screen. Thanks for watching. Now watch the videos that are appearing on the screen and discover other amazing stories.